"That ring belongs to my lost daughter," said the millionaire to the stunned nurse. And then everything changed. The November rain fell mercilessly over Seattle, washing the city in shades of gray. Inside Riverside Medical Center's emergency room, chaos erupted as paramedics burst through the automatic doors. Male, 62, possible myocardial infarction, BP 160/95, pulse 110 and irregular. The gurney carried Michael Davenport, a name that commanded respect in Seattle's business circles. His silver hair was disheveled, his normally commanding presence diminished by pain and fear. The crisp lines of his tailored suit were now rumpled, his tie hastily loosened by paramedics. "Get him to Bay 3, Dr. Sharma ordered, already reaching for her stethoscope. "Start him on oxygen and prep for an ECG." Michael's eyes darted around the room, trying to focus through waves of chest pain. This wasn't how powerful men were supposed to go. Not sprawled helplessly beneath fluorescent lights while strangers decided your fate. A young nurse approached his side, her movements quick, but deliberate. Dark hair pulled back in a practical bun, warm brown eyes that held a curious sadness. Her eye badge read, "Claire Bennett, RN. Mr. Davenport. Try to relax," she said, her voice soft yet steady. "I'm going to start an IV line." Michael managed a nod. He'd built skyscrapers, brokered billion-dollar deals, and faced down corporate raiders. But now he was powerless. Claire's hands were gentle but confident as she prepared his arm. "You're in good hands," she continued, her voice a calm anchor in the storm of activity around him. "Dr. Sharma is the best cardiologist in the Northwest." That's when he saw it. On her right hand, as she reached for an alcohol swab, a silver ring caught the harsh overhead light. Not just any ring, a heart intertwined with a star. Inside, 3 tiny letters were engraved, MKHI. Michael's breath caught, and for a moment, the pain in his chest was forgotten. The monitor beside him registered his sudden spike in heart rate. "Mr. Davenport." Claire's concerned voice seemed to come from far away. 16 years ago, Isabella's 8th birthday. She had opened the small velvet box with such excitement, her eyes widening at the silver ring nestled inside. "Is it really for me, Daddy?" she had asked, her voice filled with wonder. "Yes, Princess, it's for you. The heart is for love, the star is for dreams, and inside, Makai," she had read, her small finger tracing the engraving. "Michael, Catherine, Isabella, so you'll always remember that Daddy loves you, and that Mommy is watching over us from heaven." Isabella had worn it every day after that, until she disappeared. "Mr. Davenport, your heart rate is elevated. I need you to take deep breaths," Claire was saying. Concern etching her features, Michael gripped her wrist, startling her. "That ring," he managed, his voice raspy. "Where did you get it?" Claire glanced down, momentarily confused. "My ring." "Yes," he whispered, fighting for each word. "Please." Something in his intensity made her pause. "I've had it since I was a child. It's the only thing I have from before. A shadow crossed her face. "I was left at New Hope Children's Home when I was 9. I had no identification except for this ring. I don't remember anything before that." The room seemed to tilt around Michael. 16 years ago, Isabella had been 8. Dr. Sharma appeared at his side, checking the monitor with concern. "What's happening here? His numbers are all over the place." "I'm sorry," Claire apologized, looking troubled. "We were just talking." "Well, let's focus on keeping him stable," the doctor replied. "The cath lab is ready. We need to move." As they prepared to transfer him, Michael couldn't take his eyes off Claire. She looked nothing like his little girl. This woman was in her 20s, with features that seemed both strange and hauntingly familiar. "Your name," he whispered, as they began to wheel him away. "Your full name." "Claire Bennett," she answered, puzzled by his persistence. Bennett, not Davenport, but Isabella wouldn't remember. If she'd been taken at 8 and abandoned at 9. The pieces were falling into place in Michael's mind, even as the medical team rushed him toward treatment. The timing, the ring, the missing memories. "Sir, we need to focus on your heart right now." "Doctor," Sharma said firmly. But Michael's heart was already healing in a way no cardiologist could understand. For 16 years, it had been shattered. the pieces scattered by grief and unanswered questions. Now, those pieces were trying desperately to reassemble themselves. Later, after the stent procedure, Michael lay in the recovery room. The immediate danger had passed, but the monitor still beeped steadily beside him. Outside his door, he could hear the hushed voices of the medical staff changing shifts. When Claire appeared in the doorway for her evening rounds, Michael was awake and waiting. "How are you feeling, Mr. Davenport?" she asked professionally, checking his IV line. "Better," he said, watching her closely. "Much better," she nodded, making notes on his chart in the quiet room. With just the two of them, he could study her features more carefully. Her eyes, weren't they Catherine's eyes? The way she tilted her head slightly when concentrating. Wasn't that Isabella's gesture? "Claire," he said finally, "may I ask you something personal?" She hesitated, then nodded cautiously. "That ring you wear, it's unique, custom made." He swallowed hard. "I had it designed for my daughter 16 years ago. 3 months later, she disappeared on her way home from school." Claire's hand unconsciously moved to cover the ring, her eyes widening. "Her name was Isabella," Michael continued. "She was 8 years old. We never found her." The clipboard in Claire's hand trembled slightly. "Mr. Davenport, I'm not trying to frighten you," he said quickly, "but the coincidence is remarkable. Many rings could look similar," she said, but uncertainty had crept into her voice. "With MKI engraved inside. Michael, Catherine, Isabella." Claire looked down at her hand, then slowly removed the ring. She tilted it to read the tiny engraving inside, letters she had traced countless times without understanding their meaning. "I was told I was found wandering near a bus station in Portland," she whispered. "No memories, just this ring and the clothes I was wearing." She looked up at him, her professional composure cracking. "The social workers named me Claire. Bennett was the last name of the first family that fostered me." Michael felt tears gathering. For 16 years, he had imagined every possible scenario. That Isabella had been taken for ransom, though no demand ever came. That she had been abducted by a stranger, though no evidence was found. That she had somehow gotten lost, though search parties combed the city for months. Never had he imagined that she might be alive, grown, standing before him, a stranger who carried his daughter's only treasure. "I'd like to show you something," Michael said, reaching for his phone on the bedside table. With shaking fingers, he pulled up a photo album and turned the screen toward her. The first image showed a smiling girl with pigtails, holding an ice cream cone that was melting faster than she could eat it. "This was Isabella," he said softly, "on her 8th birthday." Claire stared at the photo, her face unreadable. "I know this must sound crazy," Michael continued, "but would you consider a DNA test?" Outside the window, Seattle's endless rain continued to fall, washing the world clean. Sometimes rain doesn't just clean the streets. It uncovers what has been buried, reveals what has been hidden, and waters seeds of truth that have lain dormant for years. Claire Bennett looked at the ring in her palm, then back at the man whose heart attack had brought them together. After 16 years of questions without answers, perhaps it was time for both of them to discover the truth. "Yes," she whispered. "I would." Michael couldn't sleep. The hospital room was quiet, except for the occasional squeak of rubber-soled shoes in the hallway and the steady beep of his heart monitor. His mind raced between hope and disbelief. Could Claire really be Isabella? After all these years, he closed his eyes, and the past rushed back like a flood breaking through a dam. 8 years before Isabella disappeared, Michael had been a different man. At 38, he was already successful, founder and CEO of Davenport Development. But his true wealth was his family. Catherine, with her contagious laugh and brilliant mind, had been his college sweetheart and later his business partner. Together, they had built their company in their dream home overlooking Puget Sound. And then there was Isabella. "Daddy, higher!" 4-year-old Isabella had demanded one perfect Sunday morning, her legs kicking excitedly as he pushed her on the backyard swing. "Any higher and you'll fly to the moon, princess," he'd laughed. Catherine had watched from the patio, coffee mug in hand. "Don't give her ideas, Michael. You know she'll try it." That was their life. Work hard, play hard, love fiercely, until the day Catherine complained of headaches. "It's just stress," she'd insisted, popping another aspirin. 6 weeks later, they sat in a sterile office as a neurologist pointed to the shadow on her brain scan. "Glioblastoma," he had said, the word landing like a grenade in their perfect world. "Aggressive, I'm sorry." Catherine fought with the same determination she'd applied to everything in life. But some battles can't be won. 7 months later, Michael held her hand as she slipped away, Isabella asleep in a chair beside the hospice bed. That night, he'd sat on the edge of Isabella's bed, struggling to explain why Mommy wouldn't be coming home. "Is she with the angels now?" Isabella had asked, her small face solemn. "Yes, baby, she's with the angels. Will she watch over us? Every single day," he'd promised. His voice breaking, Michael was jerked back to the present by a nurse, not Claire, checking his vitals. After she left, his thoughts drifted again, this time to Rebecca. He'd met her 2 years after Catherine's death. Isabella was 6, and Michael was drowning, trying to be both mother and father while running a company. Rebecca Langford had swept into his life at a charity gala, elegant in black, with a smile that lit up the room. "You look like you could use this more than me," she'd said, handing him a glass of champagne after he'd checked his phone for the 5th time. Worried about Isabella at home with the sitter. "That obvious, huh? Single parent," she'd guessed, when he nodded. Her eyes had softened. "My sister raised 2 kids alone after her divorce. Hardest job in the world." Rebecca was everything he thought he needed. Sophisticated, independent, understanding. She was the marketing director for a luxury hotel chain, traveled extensively, and seemed to genuinely care about Isabella. "She's a remarkable little girl," Rebecca had said after their 3rd date, when she'd finally met Isabella. "You've done an amazing job with her." 6 months later, they were married in a small ceremony. Isabella had been the flower girl, solemn in her responsibility to scatter rose petals perfectly. The first year had been good. Rebecca had redecorated their home, bringing light back into spaces that had felt hollow since Catherine's death. She'd helped Isabella with school projects and taken her shopping for clothes. But gradually, something changed. "Don't you think you're spoiling her?" Rebecca had asked when Michael took a day off to attend Isabella's school play. "She's had a tough time, Becca. She needs to know I'm there for her." "And what about me?" The question had caught him off guard. "When do I get your full attention?" More comments followed. Small criticisms about how much time he spent with Isabella, how their plans were always arranged around her schedule, how the house was filled with her toys. "She's my daughter," he'd finally snapped one night after Rebecca complained about canceling a weekend getaway because Isabella had the flu. "And I'm your wife," she'd countered, her voice ice cold. "Or did you forget that part?" But despite the tension, Michael never imagined what was coming. March 12th, the day everything shattered. Isabella, 8 years old and fiercely independent, had insisted she could walk home alone from her friend Sophie's house 3 blocks away. "Dad, I'm not a baby anymore. Sophie's mom can watch me until I turn the corner, and then it's straight home. I won't talk to strangers, I promise." Against his better judgment, Michael had agreed. He had an important meeting, and Rebecca had said she couldn't pick Isabella up because of a migraine. When the school called at 4:30 to ask why no one had picked up Isabella, Michael's world stopped. "What do you mean she was going to Sophie's after school?" "No, Mr. Davenport. Sophie went home sick at lunch. Isabella was waiting in the pickup area." Michael had raced to the school. Heart pounding, the principal met him in the empty hallway. She waited until about 4:15, then told Mrs. Davis she was going to walk home since it wasn't far. Mrs. Davis tried to stop her, but Isabella said you'd given permission before. What followed was a blur. Calling the police, searching the neighborhood, putting together flyers with Isabella's photo. Rebecca had appeared at his side, seemingly devastated. "We'll find her," she'd promised, holding his hand as he spoke to detectives. "She's smart. She's strong." Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. The investigation stalled. There were no witnesses, no ransom demands, no signs of Isabella anywhere. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. Michael hired private investigators, offered rewards, appeared on national television pleading for information. Nothing. Through it all, Rebecca had been his rock, organizing search parties, managing media inquiries, making sure he ate and slept. If she seemed relieved by Isabella's continued absence, Michael was too consumed by grief to notice. "Mr. Davenport." Michael opened his eyes. Morning sunlight streamed through the hospital blinds. Dr. Sharma stood by his bed, clipboard in hand. "Your heart function is improving nicely," she said. "The stent is doing its job. If your labs come back normal today, we can talk about discharging you tomorrow." "Thank you, doctor." After she left, Michael reached for his phone. With shaking fingers, he dialed a number he hadn't called in years. "Ethan Carter Investigations." A gruff voice answered. "Ethan, it's Michael Davenport." A pause. "Michael, been a long time. I need you to look into something for me, immediately." "I'm listening." Michael explained about Claire, the ring, the timing of her appearance at the orphanage. "I need everything you can find about Claire Bennett's background. And," he hesitated, "I need you to re-examine Rebecca's activities around the time Isabella disappeared. You think your wife had something to do with it?" Ethan's surprise was evident. "I don't know, but after 16 years of dead ends, this is the first lead we've had. And if Claire is Isabella, if my daughter has been alive all this time, I understand. I'll get on it right away." After hanging up, Michael stared out the window at Seattle's skyline. For 16 years, he'd lived with a ghost, the memory of his little girl, frozen in time at age 8. He'd preserved her room exactly as she'd left it, kept her school drawings framed in his office, celebrated her birthday each year in private agony. Now, a young woman with familiar eyes and his daughter's ring had walked back into his life. Whether by fate or chance, he would uncover the truth. No matter how painful it might be, Ethan Carter drummed his fingers on the steering wheel as Seattle traffic inched forward in the rain. At 55, he'd spent decades untangling other people's messes, cheating spouses, insurance fraud, missing persons. But Isabella Davenport's disappearance had always haunted him. It was the case he couldn't crack, the one that followed him into restless dreams. When Michael first hired him 16 years ago, Ethan had been sure he'd find the girl. He never did now. After Michael's call, a second chance had materialized, and he wasn't going to waste it. The hospital parking garage was nearly full. Ethan found a spot on the 4th level and made his way to Michael's room, folder tucked under his arm. He found the businessman sitting up in bed. Color returned to his face. "You look better than I expected," Ethan said, settling into the visitor's chair. "Amazing what hope can do." Michael leaned forward. "What did you find?" Ethan opened the folder. "Claire Bennett, 24 years old, graduated with honors from Washington State nursing degree, works here for 3 years, excellent performance reviews, lives alone in an apartment in Ballard, no criminal record, not even a parking ticket." "What about before the orphanage?" "That's where it gets interesting. She appeared at New Hope Children's Home in Portland on April 18th, just 5 weeks after Isabella vanished. No documentation except a handwritten note. Her name is Claire. Please take care of her." The orphanage contacted police, but with no reports matching her description from the Portland area, they eventually processed her as an abandoned child. Michael's hands clenched. 5 weeks. She could have been kept somewhere during that time, maybe drugged, to explain the memory loss. "It's possible," Ethan agreed. "Trauma can also cause amnesia, especially in children. And Rebecca," Ethan's expression darkened. "I've just started digging there, but I did find something odd. 2 days after Isabella disappeared, Rebecca withdrew $200,000 in cash from your joint account." Michael stared. "What? I never knew about this." "It was listed as property investment. You were in the middle of developing that office complex downtown. Probably had bigger transactions happening." "I was barely functioning," Michael admitted. "Rebecca handled all our personal finances then." His jaw tightened. $200,000. That's a lot of money to withdraw in cash. Enough to pay someone to make a problem disappear, Ethan said grimly, before Michael could respond. There was a soft knock. Claire stood in the doorway, hesitating when she saw he had company. "Sorry, I can come back." "No, please," Michael said quickly. "Claire, this is Ethan Carter, an old friend. Ethan, this is Claire Bennett." Ethan studied her carefully, comparing the young woman to the age progression photos of Isabella he'd commissioned years ago. The resemblance was striking now that he knew to look for it. "Nice to meet you," Claire said. professional but guarded. She turned to Michael. "I brought the test kits." She held up a small package. "The lab can rush the results. Have them in 48 hours. "Thank you." Michael's voice was thick with emotion. Ethan stood. "I should give you some privacy, Michael. I'll continue with what we discussed." After he left, Claire prepared the DNA swabs in silence. Michael watched her methodical movements, searching for glimpses of his daughter in this composed young woman. "Did you grow up in the orphanage?" he finally asked. Claire shook her head. "Foster care, 6 different homes over 9 years." She gave a small smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I was the problem child. Nightmares, anxiety, trust issues. Not exactly what people want when they're looking to add to their family." "I'm sorry," Michael said, his heart breaking for what she'd endured. She shrugged. "It shaped me, made me want to help others." She handed him a swab. "Inside your cheek, please." As he complied, Michael pulled out his phone. "Would you mind? I'd like to show you something." Claire hesitated, then nodded. Michael opened his photo gallery to a carefully preserved album. "This was Isabella's 8th birthday party," he said, showing her a photo of a dark-haired girl blowing out candles on a cake shaped like a dolphin. Claire's expression remained neutral as she took the phone. Swiping through images, Isabella opening presents, Isabella riding a bicycle, Isabella and Michael building a sandcastle at the beach. "She loved dolphins," Michael said softly. "Had dolphin sheets, dolphin posters, even a dolphin backpack." Something flickered in Claire's eyes. A momentary confusion, then gone. "This was the last photo taken of her," Michael said, as Claire reached the final image. Isabella in a purple jacket, smiling broadly, missing one front tooth. The day before she disappeared. Claire handed the phone back. "I'm sorry for what happened to your daughter. Mr. Davenport, I truly am, but..." She gestured between them. "This could just be coincidence. The ring could have been lost, sold, given away. I know it seems impossible," Michael acknowledged, "but that ring was custom-made, one of a kind." Claire looked down at her hand where the ring had rested for as long as she could remember. She'd removed it for the first time yesterday, placing it in a small dish by her bathroom sink. This morning, she'd stared at it for 10 minutes before finally putting it back on. "I should finish my rounds," she said, sealing the DNA samples. "I'll submit these today." After she left, Michael called Rebecca. They'd been living separate lives for years. Her in their downtown penthouse, him in the family home, maintaining appearances while their marriage existed only on paper. "Michael, the hospital called yesterday. How are you?" Her voice held practiced concern. "Better. They're releasing me tomorrow." "Wonderful. I'll have Carlita prepare your room at the penthouse." "No need. I'm going home." A pause. "That big house all alone. You need someone to look after you. I'll hire a nurse." His grip tightened on the phone. "Rebecca, do you remember a large cash withdrawal you made 16 years ago, right after Isabella disappeared?" The silence stretched so long, he thought the call had dropped. "Rebecca, why are you asking about this now?" Her voice had cooled several degrees. "Just trying to organize some old financial records," he lied. "It was a large sum. We were diversifying investments," she said smoothly. "Your financial advisor suggested it. Edward, remember him? Nervous little man, always perspiring. It was all completely documented." The lie rolled off her tongue so easily. Edward hadn't become their advisor until 2 years after Isabella vanished. "Of course," Michael said. "Thanks for refreshing my memory." After hanging up, he texted Ethan. "She's lying. Keep digging." 3 floors below, Claire sat in the staff break room, staring at nothing. The photos had stirred something. Not quite a memory, but a feeling. That dolphin cake. Something about it felt familiar. Her phone buzzed with a text from her coworker, Lily. "Heard you're doing DNA test with billionaire patient." Spill. Claire ignored it. She hadn't told anyone except her supervisor, who approved her continuing to work with Michael despite the personal situation. How had Lily found out? As she headed back to the nurse's station, Claire passed the hospital gift shop. In the window display of stuffed animals, a small dolphin caught her eye. Without understanding why, she went inside and bought it, tucking it into her scrubs pocket like a talisman. That night, Claire dreamed of dolphins swimming in deep water, calling to her in voices that sounded almost human. She woke with tears on her cheeks and a name on her lips, Daddy. But when she fully awoke, the dream faded, leaving only a hollow ache and questions without answers. Ethan Carter hunched over his laptop in the corner booth of a dingy coffee shop in downtown Seattle. The place had terrible coffee but excellent Wi-Fi and zero questions about customers who camped out for hours, perfect for a private investigator who preferred to work under the radar. The $200,000 withdrawal was bothering him. People didn't take out that kind of cash for legitimate purposes, not in 2008. When electronic transfers were already standard for most transactions, he'd spent the morning calling in favors from old contacts at various banks, trying to trace the money's journey. His phone rang. "Michael, I'm home," Michael said without preamble. "The doctors wanted me to stay another day, but I checked myself out." "Smart move," Ethan replied. "Your wife visited the hospital this morning just after you left. Asked specifically for Nurse Bennett." Michael's sharp intake of breath was audible. "How do you know this?" "I have a friend working security. He's keeping an eye on things." "Did she speak to Claire?" "No. Claire was in a staff meeting. Your wife seemed agitated when she couldn't locate her." Silence hung between them. "Michael, we need to talk about protection if Rebecca had something to do with Isabella's disappearance, and she suspects Claire might be her. I've already thought of that. I've hired private security for both the house and for Claire. Discreetly, they're watching her apartment building." Ethan nodded, forgetting Michael couldn't see him. "Good now. About that money. I'm still tracing it. But I did find something else. Rebecca took a 3-day trip to San Diego the week after Isabella disappeared. Told you it was for work, right?" "Yes, a hotel conference." "There was no hotel conference. I checked the records. Her company didn't have any events that week." Michael's voice hardened. "Keep going. I'm looking for connections in San Diego. Anyone who might have been paid to transport a child? It's a long shot after all this time. But money leaves trails. Find it. Ethan, whatever it costs." After hanging up, Ethan returned to his searches. By late afternoon, a pattern was emerging. The bank Rebecca had withdrawn the money from had surveillance photos from that day. Rebecca with a large envelope. From there, he tracked her to a meeting at Westlake Park with a man whose face was carefully turned away from cameras. Ethan ran the partial image through facial recognition software, getting 5 potential matches. 4 were law-abiding citizens. The 5th was Vincent Moretti, a man with a history of assault and trafficking charges who died 3 years ago in a prison fight. "Got you," Ethan muttered, copying down the address of Moretti's widow in San Diego. Claire stood outside the imposing gates of Michael Davenport's estate, second-guessing her decision to accept his invitation. The DNA results wouldn't arrive until tomorrow, but Michael had asked her to visit, to see if anything feels familiar. She pressed the intercom button. The gate swung open silently, revealing a long, winding driveway flanked by towering evergreens. At its end stood a modern mansion of glass, stone, and cedar, overlooking Puget Sound. Michael greeted her at the door, looking stronger than he had in the hospital, but still fragile. "Thank you for coming," he said, stepping aside to let her enter. The foyer opened to a great room, with soaring ceilings and walls of windows framing the water view. Despite its grandeur, the house felt warm. Comfortable furniture, books stacked on side tables, a fire crackling in a massive stone hearth. "It's beautiful," Claire said, feeling unexpectedly nervous. "Would you like a tour?" They moved through the house. A chef's kitchen with copper pots hanging above an island. A dining room with a table long enough to seat 20. A study lined with books and architectural models. Nothing triggered any recognition in Claire until they reached the music room. A gleaming black grand piano dominated the space, without thinking. Claire moved toward it, her fingers hovering over the keys. "Do you play?" Michael asked, watching her intently. "No," she said, then frowned. "I don't think so." Yet something about the piano called to her. She pressed a key, then another, and to her surprise, her fingers began moving in a simple melody. Michael's breath caught. Heart and soul. Catherine taught Isabella to play that when she was 6. Claire pulled her hands back as if burned. "I don't know how I did that." "It's muscle memory," Michael said quietly. "Some things. Our bodies remember even when our minds forget." They continued upstairs. past Michael and Rebecca's master suite to a door at the end of the hall. Michael hesitated, his hand on the doorknob. This is Isabella's room. I've kept it exactly as it was. He opened the door to reveal a child's bedroom frozen in time. Lavender walls, white furniture, and dolphins. Everywhere. Dolphin lamp, dolphin bedspread, dolphin posters. Claire stood in the doorway, unwilling to enter. A strange sensation washed over her. Not recognition, but a profound sense of déjà vu. The stuffed animals on the bed, she said softly. The gray one in the middle. It has a tear in its left flipper, doesn't it? Stitched up with blue thread. Michael stared at her. From the doorway, the tear wasn't visible. He crossed to the bed and picked up the dolphin, turning it to show a small, neat repair with blue thread. How did you know that? Claire shook her head, suddenly dizzy. I don't know, I just saw it in my mind. Michael took a step toward her, but she backed away. I need some air. She hurried downstairs and out onto the back terrace, gulping the cool evening breeze. Michael followed but kept his distance, giving her space. I'm sorry, he said. This is a lot to process. Claire wrapped her arms around herself. What if the test comes back positive? What am I supposed to do with that information? I've built a life. It's not perfect, but it's mine. I don't know how to be Isabella Davenport. You wouldn't have to be anything you don't want to be, Michael said gently. But you would have answers. And a family. Claire looked out over the water. Sunlight glinting on the waves. Family, she repeated, the word feeling strange on her tongue. Before Michael could respond, his phone rang. He glanced at the screen. I need to take this. It's Ethan. While he spoke in low tones, Claire noticed a framed photo on the terrace table. Michael, younger and smiling, with a beautiful dark-haired woman and a little girl, all three making silly faces at the camera. When Michael returned, his expression had changed. That was Ethan. He's found something. A connection between Rebecca and a man who might have been involved in Isabella's disappearance. Michael hesitated. The man died in prison, but his widow lives in San Diego. Ethan's flying there tonight. You really think your wife could have done this? Michael's face darkened. Rebecca and I have been married in name only for years, after Isabella disappeared. Something changed between us. I was too consumed by grief to question it then. But looking back, he shook his head. There were signs I missed. Claire studied his face. The lines etched by years of pain. The cautious hope in his eyes. If the DNA test confirmed she was Isabella, this man was her father. The thought was both terrifying and strangely comforting. There's one more place I'd like to show you, Michael said, if you're up for it. He led her to a room off the main hall that she'd missed during their tour. Inside was a baby grand piano, smaller than the one in the music room, with framed sheet music on the walls and a collection of vinyl records. This was Catherine's music room. Isabella used to sit with her for hours while Catherine played. Claire stepped inside, drawn to a photo on the piano. The dark-haired woman, head thrown back in laughter, hands poised over the keys. Your wife, Claire said. She was beautiful. Yes, she was. If you are Isabella, she was your mother. Something stirred in Claire. Not a memory, but an echo. She touched the piano keys lightly. Would you like to stay for dinner? Michael asked. Nothing fancy. I'm on a heart-healthy diet now, but we could talk more. Before Claire could answer, the doorbell rang. Michael frowned. I'm not expecting anyone. He went to answer it, Claire following a few steps behind. When he opened the door, Rebecca stood there, elegant in a tailored suit, her smile faltering when she spotted Claire. Michael, darling, I came to check on you. Her eyes narrowed. I didn't realize you had company. The room temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees as Rebecca stood in the doorway, her gaze shifting between Michael and Claire. Her Chanel suit was impeccable, her makeup flawless, but something predatory lurked behind her practiced smile. Rebecca, Michael said, his voice carefully neutral. I didn't know you were coming by. Clearly, she replied, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. I've been calling, but you haven't answered. Her attention fixed on Claire. And you are. Claire straightened her shoulders. Claire Bennett. I'm Mr. Davenport's nurse from Riverside. A house call. How dedicated. Rebecca's smile didn't reach her eyes. But Michael has a perfectly good private physician. Dr. Richards has been our family doctor for years. Ms. Bennett was just leaving. Michael intervened. Thank you for checking in today, he said to Claire, moving subtly to place himself between the two women. Claire nodded, understanding his intent. Remember to take your medications with food, Mr. Davenport. I'll check in tomorrow. As she gathered her purse, Rebecca circled the foyer like a shark, examining Claire with unsettling intensity. Have we met before? You seem familiar. I don't believe so, ma'am. Perhaps at one of our charity events. Michael and I support the hospital foundation. No, I'm relatively new to Seattle. Rebecca hummed noncommittally. Well, it's good of you to take such personal interest in my husband's care. Michael walked Claire to the door. I'll call you tomorrow, he said, his voice low. Be careful. Once Claire was gone, Rebecca's demeanor shifted instantly. The solicitous smile vanished, replaced by cold calculation. What was that about, Michael? She's my nurse. The hospital assigned her to my case. Rebecca's laugh was brittle. Please, I saw how you looked at her, a bit young, even for you. Michael ignored the bait. Why are you really here? Rebecca, she sighed dramatically, moving to pour herself a drink from the bar cart. Can't a wife check on her husband after a heart attack? The board is concerned, you know. There's talk of appointing an interim CEO. Let them talk. I'm fine. Michael watched her sip her bourbon. You went to the hospital this morning. Asked for Claire specifically. Rebecca paused mid-sip. You're having me followed now. Answer the question. She shrugged elegantly. One of the nurses mentioned her. Said she'd been spending extra time with you. I was curious. 16 years ago, Michael said abruptly. You withdrew $200,000 from our joint account. In cash. Why? The crystal tumbler froze halfway to Rebecca's lips. For a split second, something like panic flashed in her eyes before she recovered. Ancient history, darling. Some investment opportunity that didn't pan out. She waved a manicured hand dismissively. Why on earth are you bringing this up now? Because I think you paid someone to make my daughter disappear. The accusation hung in the air between them. Rebecca set down her glass with deliberate calm. You've always had an active imagination, Michael. It's what made you successful in development. Her voice hardened. But this is absurd. Even for you. Is it? You took a trip to San Diego the week after Isabella vanished. You claimed it was for a conference. But there was no conference. Rebecca's perfectly sculpted eyebrows rose. Are you having some sort of breakdown? First your heart, now your mind? Ethan Carter is in San Diego right now, talking to Vincent Moretti's widow. The name landed like a physical blow. Rebecca's composure cracked, color draining from her face. I don't know who that is. He's the man you met at Westlake Park, the one you handed an envelope full of cash to, the one who took my daughter. Rebecca turned away, moving to the window. Outside, darkness had fallen, turning the glass into a mirror, reflecting her suddenly haggard expression. You can't prove anything, she said finally. The DNA results come tomorrow. Claire is Isabella, isn't she? Rebecca's shoulders slumped slightly. The only acknowledgement he would get. Ethan stood on a crumbling front porch in a rundown San Diego neighborhood, knocking for the third time. According to his information, Angela Moretti still lived here, 8 years after her husband's death. Finally, the door cracked open. A woman in her 60s peered out, cigarette dangling from her lips. Whatever you're selling, I'm not buying. Mrs. Moretti, I'm Ethan Carter. I'd like to talk to you about Vincent. Her eyes narrowed. Police, private investigator. It's about a job he did 16 years ago, in Seattle. She started to close the door. Ethan quickly added, I'm not here to cause trouble, the girl. I just need to know what happened to her. Angela froze. After a long moment, she sighed heavily and stepped back. 20 minutes, that's all you get. The house smelled of cigarettes and cats. Angela led him to a cluttered living room and gestured to a worn armchair. Vinny's been dead 8 years. Why dredge this up now? Because the girl's father never stopped looking for her. Angela lit a fresh cigarette from the butt of her old one. Rich guy, right? Developer or something. Ethan nodded. Michael Davenport. The wife paid Vinny to take the kid. She exhaled a plume of smoke. Said the girl was ruining their marriage, always coming first with the husband. Wanted her gone, but not hurt. Ethan leaned forward. What did Vincent do with her? Drugged her with something that messes with memory, kept her sedated for a few days while he figured out what to do. Vinny wasn't into hurting kids. That wasn't his thing. So he dropped her at some orphanage in Portland with a fake name. Claire Bennett, Angela nodded. That's it. Wife's idea. Said make it sound generic. Forgettable. Did he ever check on her? Angela snorted. Vinny, nah. He got paid. He did the job. He moved on. She tapped ash into an overflowing ashtray. But he kept the ring. Ethan's pulse quickened. What ring? Silver thing the kid was wearing. Heart and star design. He was gonna pawn it. But I said it might be traceable, so he kept it in his box of trophies. She stood, disappeared into another room, and returned with a small metal lockbox. After he died in prison, I got his effects. Never bothered to open this. She pushed it toward Ethan. Take it. Maybe there's something the father would want. Inside, among various items, Ethan found a small plastic bag containing a silver charm, a perfect match for the one on Claire's ring. The ring had 2 parts. Angela nodded. Vinny took this piece off, left the band on the kid, said no one would connect them. Ethan pocketed the charm. Would you be willing to make a statement, on record? She took a long drag. Will I go to jail? I didn't know what he was doing until after. I can't promise anything, but cooperating now would work in your favor. Angela considered this. Yeah, I'll talk. Carrying this around all these years. She shook her head. Some things eat at you. You know, back in Seattle, Claire sat in her apartment. The small stuffed dolphin she'd bought at the hospital gift shop clutched in her hands. Ever since visiting Michael's house, seeing Isabella's room, strange sensations had been washing over her. Not quite memories, but feelings, familiar yet foreign. Her phone chimed with a text from the hospital lab. Results ready tomorrow 9 a.m. She set down the dolphin and picked up the ring, studying it in the lamplight. M.K.I. Michael Catherine. Isabella. Could she really be that little girl? And if she was, if Rebecca had stolen her from her family, erased her memories, abandoned her to foster care, how could she possibly process such a betrayal? The thought made her stomach clench. What kind of person would do that to a child? Her phone rang. Michael, are you okay? He asked immediately. Yes, I'm home. What happened with Rebecca? She's gone. Back to the penthouse. His voice was strained. Claire, I think she suspects who you are. Be careful. I've hired security for your building. But don't go anywhere alone until we know more. The DNA results will be ready tomorrow morning. A pause. Whatever they show, we'll face it together. After hanging up, Claire moved to her window, peering through the blinds at the street below. A dark sedan was parked across from her building. Michael's security. She assumed it should have been comforting. Instead, she felt like a butterfly pinned to a board, caught between the life she knew and the one that might have been stolen from her. Tomorrow, one way or another, she would have answers. The DNA results arrived in a plain manila envelope. Claire stood in the hospital lab, heart pounding as the technician handed it to her. She'd barely slept, torn between hope and terror at what the results might reveal. Do you want to open it here? The technician asked kindly. Claire shook her head. I'll take it with me, thank you. In the hospital chapel, the only quiet place she could find, Claire sat in the last pew and stared at the envelope. Inside was the answer to who she really was. With trembling fingers, she broke the seal and pulled out a single sheet of paper. Paternity test results sample A, Michael Davenport, to sample B, Claire Bennett. Probability of paternity, 99,097%. The world tilted sideways. Scientific confirmation of what her heart had begun to suspect. She was Isabella Davenport. Her phone buzzed. A text from Michael. Any news? She couldn't find words to respond. Instead, she took a photo of the results and sent it. 3 dots appeared immediately, then disappeared, reappeared, disappeared again. Finally, a single message. I'm coming to the hospital. Claire sat motionless, trying to absorb the reality of her situation. Her entire identity had been a fiction, a name given to her by strangers after a woman had paid to have her kidnapped. By the time she made it to the hospital lobby, Michael was already there. Their eyes met across the crowded space, and something unspoken passed between them. This wasn't just a patient and his nurse anymore. This was a father who had found his daughter after 16 years of grief. "Isabella," he whispered as she approached. The name sent a jolt through her. I'm not sure I can be her yet," she said honestly. "I need time." Michael nodded, eyes bright with unshed tears. "Whatever you need, whatever you want to call yourself, you're still my daughter. Can we go somewhere to talk?" They ended up in the hospital garden, sitting on a bench surrounded by late autumn flowers. "Ethan called from San Diego," Michael began. "He found Vincent Moretti's widow. She confirmed everything. Rebecca paid her husband to take you. He drugged you with something that caused memory loss, kept you sedated for several days, then left you at the orphanage with a fake name." Claire stared at her hands. "Why? Why would she do that to a child?" Michael's face darkened. "Because she wanted me to herself. She saw you as competition for my attention." "That's monstrous." "Yes," Michael agreed simply. "It is. What happens now? That's up to you. We can go to the police immediately, or—" "I want to confront her first," Claire interrupted, surprising herself with the sudden conviction. "I need to hear her admit what she did. To my face." Michael studied her carefully. "Are you sure that's wise?" "No," Claire admitted, "but I need it. For 16 years, I've wondered who I was, why I was abandoned. I deserve answers directly from her." After a long moment, Michael nodded. "All right, but not alone. We'll do it together. At the house where security is present." They agreed to meet that evening. As Claire finished her shift, her mind raced with questions. What would she say to the woman who had stolen her childhood? What could Rebecca possibly say to justify such cruelty? Michael paced the length of his study, phone pressed to his ear. "Are you absolutely sure, Ethan?" "The charm matches Claire's ring perfectly," Ethan confirmed. "And Angela Moretti has given a full statement. She's willing to testify that Rebecca hired her husband to kidnap Isabella." "What about the drugs he used? Could they have caused permanent memory loss?" "According to Angela, he used a combination of benzodiazepines and a street drug called angel dust, kept her heavily sedated for nearly 5 days. The doctors I've consulted say that, combined with the trauma, could absolutely cause the kind of amnesia Claire experienced." Michael's free hand clenched into a fist. "She drugged my 8-year-old daughter." "Michael," Ethan's voice was cautious, "have you considered that Claire might need protection from Rebecca? If she realizes Claire knows the truth." "I've thought of that. I've doubled security at the house. And for Claire, Rebecca's coming here tonight. Claire wants to confront her. Is that smart? Probably not. But it's what she needs." Michael sighed heavily. "After tonight, we'll go to the police. This ends now." After hanging up, Michael went to Isabella's room. For 16 years, he'd preserved it as a shrine to his missing child. Now, it felt like a monument to stolen time. His daughter hadn't died, but she'd lost her childhood, her memories, her very identity. The doorbell interrupted his thoughts. Through the security camera, he saw Claire on the porch, hugging herself against the evening chill. He rushed downstairs to let her in. "Are you okay?" he asked, noticing her pallor. "Not really," she admitted, "but I need to do this." They settled in the living room, the fire casting long shadows as darkness fell outside. "I keep trying to remember her," Claire said, "from before, but there's nothing, just fragments, feelings. The doctors say your memories might never fully return," Michael said gently. "The drugs, the trauma, they altered how your brain stored information during that period." Claire nodded, then tensed as headlights swept across the windows. "She's here." Michael squeezed her hand. "You don't have to do this." "Yes," Claire said firmly. "I do." Rebecca entered the house like she still owned it, expensive perfume announcing her arrival before she appeared in the living room doorway. She froze when she saw Claire. "What's this?" she asked, looking between them. "A little nurse's house call again, really, Michael. People will talk." "Sit down, Rebecca," Michael said coldly. Something in his tone made her hesitate. "What's going on?" "We know what you did." Rebecca's face remained impassive, but her knuckles whitened around her designer purse. "And what exactly am I supposed to have done?" Claire stood, facing the woman directly. "You paid Vincent Moretti to kidnap me, to drug me and abandon me at an orphanage in Portland. For a heartbeat. Rebecca maintained her composure. Then she laughed. A sharp, brittle sound. This is ridiculous, Michael. Are you having some sort of breakdown? We have the DNA results, Michael said. Claire is Isabella. And we have Vincent Moretti's widow, Claire added. She's given a full statement. The color drained from Rebecca's face. She moved to a chair and sank into it, suddenly looking every one of her 58 years. You can't prove anything. Michael pulled out his phone, pressed play. Angela Moretti's gravelly voice filled the room. The wife paid Vinny to take the kid, said the girl was ruining their marriage. Rebecca's mask cracked completely. Turn it off. Michael complied. The silence that followed heavy with 16 years of lies. Why? Claire asked, her voice breaking. I was a child. What did I ever do to you? Rebecca's gaze was cold, calculating even now. You were always in the way, always Daddy's little princess. He couldn't see anything but you. She turned to Michael. I tried to love her, I really did, but she made it impossible, constantly reminding me I wasn't her mother, that I could never replace Catherine. She was 8 years old, Michael said, his voice shaking with rage. She was an obstacle, Rebecca countered calmly. So I removed her. Simple business strategy. Eliminate what stands between you and your goal. Claire stared at her in disbelief. You're talking about a child, a human being. You stole my life. I gave you a different one, Rebecca replied with a shrug. And half of Michael's fortune is legally mine, thanks to our prenuptial agreement. So whatever you're planning, think carefully. Michael's laugh was mirthless. Money, that's your concern right now. It's always been my concern, Rebecca said simply. I married you for your potential, built you into who you are. This house, your company's expansion, all my vision. Claire stepped closer. You took everything from me, my home, my father, my memories, even my name. Something like regret flickered briefly in Rebecca's eyes, then vanished. It wasn't personal. Dear, you were simply inconvenient. The calculated cruelty of those words hung in the air. Claire felt a lifetime of abandonment issues, trust problems, and unexplained anxiety suddenly make perfect sense, all because this woman had seen her as an inconvenience. We're going to the police, Michael said. Tonight. Rebecca stood, smoothing her skirt. Then I should call my attorney. This will be quite the media circus. The grieving father who never bothered to check orphanages in neighboring states. The ambitious wife. The long-lost daughter miraculously found. Are you sure you want to put poor Claire through that? My name, Claire said steadily, finding strength she didn't know she had, is Isabella Davenport, and I'm not afraid of the truth anymore. Rebecca's arrest dominated Seattle's news cycle. Camera crews camped outside the Davenport estate while reporters competed for exclusive details about the society wife who had orchestrated her stepdaughter's kidnapping. Words like unprecedented, shocking, and bizarre filled headlines alongside photos of Rebecca's perfectly composed mugshot. 3 days after the confrontation, Isabella, she had decided to reclaim her birth name, sat in Michael's study, scrolling through articles on her phone. They're calling it the case of the century, she said, looking up as Michael entered with 2 mugs of tea. Apparently, I'm the miracle daughter, returned from the dead. Michael set her mug down with a grimace. Vultures. I've had the security team turn away 6 journalists already this morning. Isabella sighed, setting aside her phone. She'd taken a leave of absence from the hospital, unable to face the curious stares and whispered conversations that followed her through the halls. Rebecca's attorney is claiming temporary insanity, Michael said, settling into his chair. Says the grief of not being able to have children of her own drove her to it. Is that true? About not being able to have children? Michael nodded. She had several miscarriages before we met, but that doesn't excuse... No, Isabella agreed quickly. Nothing excuses what she did. They sat in companionable silence, still navigating the strange new reality of their relationship. Though DNA confirmed their connection, 16 years of separation couldn't be erased overnight. Isabella was both his daughter and a stranger, a paradox they were both working to reconcile. I've been thinking, Michael said, breaking the silence, about your memories, The doctors said they might still be there, just locked away. Isabella cupped her hands around her mug. What are you suggesting? I've arranged something. A kind of memory journey, if you're willing to try. That afternoon, they stood outside Isabella's childhood bedroom. She hadn't been back since that first visit. The dolphin-filled shrine to an 8-year-old frozen in time had been too overwhelming. We don't have to do this, Michael assured her. Isabella took a deep breath. No, I want to. Inside, Michael had made subtle changes. The bed was freshly made with simple white linens instead of the dolphin print. Stuffed animals were arranged in a basket rather than displayed on the bed. The room looked less like a museum and more like a space someone could actually use. I thought small steps might be better, Michael explained. Dr. Harrison, the memory specialist, suggested we start with tactile experiences, things you might remember through touch. On the desk sat several items: a child's jewelry box, a worn teddy bear, a small pink music box, and a leather-bound book. These were your most treasured possessions, Michael said. Take your time. Isabella approached slowly, reaching first for the jewelry box. It was painted wood with a ballerina on the lid. When she opened it, tiny compartments revealed childhood treasures: seashells, colored stones, a friendship bracelet. I collected rocks, she murmured, touching a smooth purple stone. I thought they were gems. Michael's eyes widened. Yes, you called them your treasure stones. You'd bring them home from the playground, the beach, anywhere you found one that caught your eye. Isabella turned to the teddy bear next. It was well loved, the fur worn smooth in places. She lifted it, hesitated, then pressed it to her face. The scent triggered something, a flash of memory so vivid it made her gasp. Cinnamon, she whispered. The bear smells like cinnamon. Michael nodded, his voice thick. Catherine, your mother, sprayed her perfume on it whenever you had nightmares. Said it would keep the bad dreams away because Mommy was watching over you. Isabella clutched the bear tighter as more fragments surfaced. A woman's laugh. A bedtime story. The feeling of absolute safety. The music box came next. When she lifted the lid, a delicate melody filled the room. Clair de Lune, Isabella said automatically, then looked surprised. How did I know that? It was Catherine's favorite. She played it on the piano every night before your bedtime. Isabella closed her eyes, letting the music wash over her. More images flickered. Sitting beside her mother at the piano, small fingers trying to mimic the complex movements. The pride when she got it right. The last item was the leather book. When Isabella opened it, she found not a story but a photo album. The first page showed a much younger Michael with a beautiful dark-haired woman, both beaming at the camera, a newborn cradled between them. The day we brought you home from the hospital, Michael explained. Isabella turned pages slowly. Her first birthday, smeared with cake, a toddler at the beach, building sandcastles, a preschooler on Michael's shoulders at a zoo. Each image sparked tiny bursts of memory, not complete, but flashes of feelings, sounds, smells. When she reached a photo of herself at about 6, standing between Michael and a woman who was clearly not her mother, she paused. Rebecca, she said softly. This was at the wedding. Michael nodded. You were the flower girl. Isabella studied the image. Her small face looked solemn, dutiful, but not happy. Even then, had she sensed something wasn't right? The last pages showed her 8th birthday party. Dolphins everywhere. Friends gathered around a cake. Isabella opening presents, including a small velvet box. The ring, she whispered, touching her finger where it still rested. Michael nodded. The last birthday we had together. Setting aside the album, Isabella moved to the window seat, a cozy nook overlooking the back gardens. Without thinking, she sat and pulled her knees to her chest, exactly as she had hundreds of times as a child. I used to sit here and read, she said, the memory surfacing naturally. For hours, Mom, Catherine, called it my thinking spot. Michael smiled, eyes glistening. Yes, you'd curl up with your books and disappear into other worlds. Isabella looked around the room with new eyes. Not as Claire Bennett, the nurse with no past, but as Isabella Davenport, beginning to reclaim pieces of her history. It's like hearing a song in another room, she tried to explain. "I can't quite make out the melody, but I know I've heard it before." They spent the afternoon moving through the house, Michael patiently showing her photographs, toys, books, each item potentially holding the key to another locked memory. In the kitchen, the smell of cinnamon cookies baking triggered a vivid recollection of holiday baking with Catherine. In the family room, the texture of a particular blanket brought back movie nights cuddled between her parents. By evening, Isabella was emotionally exhausted, but filled with a strange, bittersweet happiness. Fragments of her past were returning, not complete, perhaps never complete, but enough to begin reconstructing who she had been before Rebecca tore her away. As the sun set, they sat on the back terrace, watching golden light play across the water. "I've decided something," Isabella said after a comfortable silence. "What's that?" "I want to stay here, not permanently. I still have my apartment. But while we work through this, while I find myself again." Michael nodded, trying and failing to hide his joy at the suggestion. "The house has been too empty for too long." Isabella smiled, feeling more at peace than she had in days. "There's something else. All day, I've been calling you Michael in my head, because it felt presumptuous to think of you as anything else." She took a deep breath. "But I'd like to try, if that's okay." "Try what?" Michael asked, though his expression showed he understood. "Calling you Dad," Isabella said softly. "Not all the time. Not until it feels natural, but sometimes." Michael reached across the space between them, taking her hand in his. For a moment, neither spoke. No words could adequately express the depth of emotion in bridging a 16-year absence. "I'd like that," he finally managed. "Very much." As darkness fell, Isabella realized she had spent the entire day without once thinking of herself as Claire. The name now felt like a borrowed coat, something she had worn for protection, but that had never truly fit. She was Isabella Davenport, and she was finally coming home. The King County Courthouse loomed imposingly against the gray Seattle sky. Isabella gripped Michael's hand as they navigated through a gauntlet of reporters shouting questions and photographers jostling for the perfect shot. "Miss Davenport, how does it feel to face your kidnapper?" "Mr. Davenport, will you seek financial damages?" "Isabella, do you remember the moment you were taken?" Security guards ushered them through the main entrance where Ethan Carter waited, his normally rumpled appearance upgraded to a respectable suit. "Ready?" he asked, eyes concerned beneath bushy eyebrows. Isabella nodded, though her stomach churned. Today marked the preliminary hearing in the case against Rebecca Davenport. After weeks of preparation, Isabella would finally testify about the impact of Rebecca's actions on her life. Their attorney, Diane Walker, a formidable prosecutor known for her success in high-profile cases, met them in the hallway. "Remember what we discussed," she told Isabella. "Stick to facts you know firsthand. Don't speculate. The defense will try to confuse you about your memories. Suggest they're fabricated or influenced. Stay calm." The courtroom was packed. Journalists filled the back rows, while the gallery overflowed with curious public and supportive friends. Isabella's colleagues from the hospital sat together in solidarity, including her friend Lily, who offered an encouraging smile as they took their seats at the prosecution table. The side door opened, and Rebecca entered, escorted by a female deputy. Despite 3 weeks in custody, she looked immaculate. Designer suit, perfect makeup, hair styled in an elegant updo. Only the handcuffs at her wrists betrayed her status as defendant. Her attorney, Maxwell Griffin, one of Seattle's most expensive criminal defense lawyers, immediately began arguing for the removal of the cuffs, claiming his client posed no flight risk. "Your Honor, Mrs. Davenport voluntarily surrendered her passport and has substantial ties to the community," Griffin asserted. Judge Harriet Chen, a no-nonsense jurist with 20 years on the bench, was unmoved. "The defendant is charged with kidnapping and child endangerment. The handcuffs stay on during transport but may be removed for court proceedings." The deputy unlocked Rebecca's restraints as she rubbed her wrists, her gaze locked with Isabella's. No remorse showed in those cold eyes, only calculation, as if this were merely an inconvenient business meeting. Judge Chen called the court to order. "People versus Rebecca Langford Davenport. Charges include kidnapping, child endangerment, conspiracy, and obstruction of justice. The proceedings began with opening statements. Prosecutor Walker laid out the facts methodically. The $200,000 payment, Vincent Moretti's criminal history, the drugging of 8-year-old Isabella, and the 16 years of deception that followed. This was not a crime of passion, Walker emphasized. This was meticulously planned by a woman who saw her stepdaughter as competition for her husband's attention and resources. She didn't just want the child gone for a day or a week. She wanted her erased. Griffin countered with a defense centered on Rebecca's mental state. My client suffered from severe postpartum depression after multiple miscarriages. Her judgment was impaired by undiagnosed mental illness. She sought not to harm Isabella, but to create distance during what she believed would be a temporary emotional crisis. Isabella struggled to maintain her composure hearing Rebecca's actions rationalized so coldly. The prosecution called their first witness, Angela Moretti, who had flown in from San Diego. The widow looked uncomfortable in her department store dress, hands fidgeting as she took the oath. Mrs. Moretti, how did your late husband Vincent know the defendant? Walker began. They didn't know each other, not before. Angela's raspy voice carried clearly. She contacted him through an intermediary, someone who knew Vinny did special jobs. And what was this special job? To take the little girl, make her disappear without a trace. Angela avoided looking at Rebecca. She wanted the kid gone, but not hurt. That was specific, Griffin objected repeatedly. But Angela's testimony held firm under cross-examination. She described how Vincent had drugged Isabella outside her school, kept her sedated in a motel room while arrangements were made, and finally abandoned her at the Portland orphanage with her new identity. Did your husband keep any souvenirs from this job? Walker asked. He took a charm off the kid's ring. Angela pointed toward the evidence table where the silver star heart charm lay in a plastic bag. Left the band on her finger so it wouldn't be connected back to the family. Next came the orphanage director, who confirmed Isabella's arrival. A confused child with no identification beyond the name Claire Bennett, written on a note. Medical records documented her disorientation, memory gaps, and the traces of benzodiazepines in her system. The forensic accountant who had traced Rebecca's cash withdrawal and subsequent financial activities testified to the suspicious timing and handling of the funds. Throughout, Rebecca remained poised, whispering occasionally to her attorney, her expression revealing nothing. Just before lunch recess, Walker called Isabella to the stand. Taking a deep breath, she walked forward, feeling as though she were moving through water after being sworn in. She faced the courtroom, aware of every eye upon her. Please state your name for the record, Walker requested. Isabella Catherine Davenport, she replied, her voice stronger than expected. And you've also been known by another name, is that correct? Yes. Until recently, I was known as Claire Bennett. Ms. Davenport, when did you learn your true identity? Isabella recounted the story. Michael's heart attack, the ring, the DNA test, and the gradual recovery of fragments of memory. She described the impact of growing up without knowing who she was or why she'd been abandoned. I spent my childhood being shuffled between foster homes, Isabella testified, emotion tightening her voice. I had nightmares I couldn't explain, anxiety that seemed to come from nowhere. Every birthday, I'd wonder if someone, somewhere, was looking for me. When asked about her confrontation with Rebecca, Isabella described the woman's cold admission. She said I was inconvenient, Isabella recalled, that removing me was simply a business strategy. She showed no remorse whatsoever. During cross-examination, Griffin attempted to undermine her testimony. Ms. Davenport, or should I say Ms. Bennett, isn't it true that you have no actual memory of being taken? That's correct. The drugs I was given. Yes or no answers, please, Griffin interrupted. And isn't it also true that your supposed recovered memories only surfaced after spending considerable time with Michael Davenport, who had a vested interest in convincing you that you were his daughter? Isabella remained steady. The DNA test confirmed I am Isabella Davenport. My memories have returned gradually and spontaneously, not through suggestion. But you can't definitively state that Rebecca Davenport orchestrated your alleged kidnapping based on your own recollection. Can you? I can state that she admitted it to my face, Isabella replied evenly. And the evidence supports that admission. Griffin pressed harder. Isn't it possible that after years of searching for belonging, you've convinced yourself of this narrative? That the convenient discovery of a wealthy father who desperately wants his daughter back has influenced your perception? Before Isabella could answer, Walker objected. Badgering the witness, Your Honor, counsel is attempting to psychoanalyze the victim rather than address facts. Sustained, Judge Chen ruled. When Isabella finally stepped down, she felt drained but relieved, looking at Rebecca, the woman who had stolen her childhood. She no longer saw a frightening figure, but simply a deeply disturbed person whose cruelty had finally been exposed. The final witness of the day was Michael, who testified about the day Isabella disappeared and the suspicious behaviors he'd later recognized in Rebecca. His voice broke when describing the 16 years of searching, the birthdays marked with grief, the room kept exactly as Isabella had left it. Did you ever suspect your wife might be involved? Walker asked. Michael shook his head. Never. She was my support system, the person who held me together during the darkest time of my life. I couldn't have imagined she was the cause of that darkness. As court adjourned for the day, Judge Chen announced that proceedings would resume tomorrow with the defense's case. Isabella watched as Rebecca was handcuffed again and led away, her perfect posture never faltering. Outside, rain had begun to fall, matching Isabella's emotional exhaustion. But as they walked to the car, Michael's arm protective around her shoulders, she felt a weight lifting. The truth was finally being heard. After 16 years of silence, justice was in motion. Day 3 of the trial brought the moment Isabella had been both dreading and anticipating. Rebecca would take the stand. After 2 days of prosecution witnesses establishing the timeline, financial transactions, and physical evidence, the defense was making its case. The courtroom seemed to hold its collective breath as Rebecca Langford Davenport was sworn in. She wore a dove-gray suit that somehow made her appear both authoritative and vulnerable. A calculated choice. Isabella suspected. Defense attorney Griffin began with establishing Rebecca's background. Daughter of a struggling single mother, scholarship student, self-made marketing executive who had worked her way up from receptionist to director before meeting Michael. Mrs. Davenport, could you describe your relationship with Isabella before her disappearance? Griffin asked. Rebecca's expression softened, a perfect mask of maternal concern. I tried so hard to connect with her, she said, her voice gentle. I understood I could never replace Catherine. I didn't want to, but I hoped we could form our own bond. And how did Isabella respond to these efforts? Rebecca sighed, a practiced gesture of regret. She was resistant. She'd refuse to speak to me sometimes, or deliberately misbehave when Michael wasn't around. Once, she cut up a dress I'd bought her. A calculated pause. I understood her pain. Her mother had died, and suddenly this stranger was in her home. I tried to be patient. Isabella gripped the edge of her chair, remembering none of these alleged incidents. What was your mental state during this period? Griffin continued. I was struggling, Rebecca admitted, dabbing at non-existent tears. Before meeting Michael, I'd had 3 miscarriages. My doctors said I likely couldn't carry to term when I married Michael. I thought Isabella might fill that void, that I could be a mother to her. She took a shuddering breath, but her rejection triggered something. I began having panic attacks, insomnia. I felt like a failure as a woman, as a wife, as a stepmother. Did you seek help? No, Rebecca said, lowering her eyes. In my family, we didn't discuss mental health. My mother always said, fix it yourself or live with it. So I tried to fix it myself. Isabella exchanged glances with Michael, whose expression showed he recognized this testimony for what it was, a carefully constructed fiction. Griffin walked Rebecca through her version of events, how she'd reached a breaking point and just wanted some space from Isabella while she got herself together. She claimed she'd paid Vincent Moretti only to take Isabella to a family friend's home in Portland for a few weeks. But he'd gone rogue, drugged Isabella more heavily than instructed, and abandoned her at the orphanage instead. When I realized what had happened, I was devastated, Rebecca testified, voice quavering. But I was also terrified. I'd committed a crime. Even with my limited intentions, I couldn't confess without destroying my marriage and facing prison. She looked directly at Michael. I told myself Isabella was probably in a good home, maybe even adopted by a loving family. I convinced myself she was better off. The performance was masterful. remorseful yet justifying. Admitting fault while minimizing intent, Isabella watched jurors' faces, worried by the sympathy she saw in some. Then it was Prosecutor Walker's turn for cross-examination. "Mrs. Davenport," she began, "you claim you intended Isabella's removal to be temporary, correct?" "Yes, absolutely." "Then why did Mr. Moretti testify that you specifically instructed him to take her somewhere she would never be found?" Rebecca's composure flickered briefly. He misunderstood. "And the $200,000. That's a substantial payment for a temporary arrangement, isn't it?" "I was desperate." He named his price. Walker approached the evidence table, lifting a document. "This is your credit card statement from April 2008, the month after Isabella disappeared. Can you explain the purchase from Celebrations Travel Agency?" Rebecca hesitated. "I don't recall. Let me refresh your memory. It was 2 tickets to Bora Bora, a second honeymoon with your husband while his daughter was missing." Walker didn't wait for a response. "You planned a vacation while search parties were looking for Isabella? Does that sound like the behavior of someone who was devastated by what happened?" "I thought Michael needed a distraction from his grief," Rebecca replied, but her carefully constructed facade was beginning to crack. For the next hour, Walker methodically dismantled Rebecca's testimony, highlighting inconsistencies, introducing evidence of her calculated behavior after Isabella's disappearance, and emphasizing the extensive planning the crime had required. "Mrs. Davenport, if your intention was for Isabella to stay with a family friend, why wasn't this friend ever identified or contacted during the investigation?" "I was afraid they would be implicated. This hypothetical friend doesn't exist, does she?" When Rebecca didn't answer, Walker continued, "Just as your supposed mental health crisis conveniently never manifested in any medical records, therapy sessions, or witness observations." By the time Walker finished, Rebecca's sympathetic victim narrative had crumbled as she stepped down from the witness stand. Isabella noticed a subtle but significant change. Rebecca's shoulders had lost their perfect posture, defeat beginning to show through her armor of privilege and denial. After a brief recess, Judge Chen announced, "The court will now hear victim impact statements before closing arguments. The prosecution calls Isabella Davenport." Isabella rose, her heart pounding. This wasn't testimony, but her opportunity to speak directly to the court, and to Rebecca, about the impact of the crime. She'd prepared notes, but left them at her seat, choosing instead to speak from the heart, facing Rebecca directly. Isabella began, 16 years ago, you made a decision that shattered my life. I lost my home, my father, my identity, even my name." Rebecca looked away, but Judge Chen intervened. "Mrs. Davenport, you will face Ms. Davenport during her statement." Reluctantly, Rebecca turned back, meeting Isabella's gaze for the first time. "I want to know why," Isabella continued, her voice steady despite the emotion behind it. "Not the story you've created for the court, but the real reason? What makes someone look at an 8-year-old child and decide to erase her existence?" The courtroom was silent, the question hanging in the air. To everyone's surprise, Rebecca answered, "You had everything I could never have," she said, her voice stripped of its practiced polish. "Michael's love, his attention, his pride. You were Catherine's legacy, the one thing about her he could never let go." Something raw and honest finally showed in her eyes. "I wanted to be his everything, the way he was mine." "I was a child," Isabella said softly. "You were a reminder," Rebecca countered. "Every time he looked at you, he saw her. I was never going to measure up to a ghost, so you made me disappear instead." Rebecca nodded, abandoning pretense at last. "It wasn't about hating you. It was about loving him too much. In the wrong way." She straightened, some of her composure returning. "I won't ask for forgiveness. What I did was unforgivable. But yes, I would do it again. Love makes monsters of us all, in one way or another." The admission shocked the courtroom. Griffin attempted to interrupt, but Rebecca waved him off. "Enough performances," she said. "It's exhausting." Isabella studied the woman who had caused so much suffering, trying to find something, anything, that might explain such calculated cruelty. All she saw was a profound emptiness, a void where empathy should exist. "I spent years wondering who I was, where I belonged," Isabella said finally. "I had nightmares I couldn't understand, fears I couldn't explain. I thought I was broken somehow, that there must be something fundamentally wrong with me for my own parents to have abandoned me. She took a deep breath. But I wasn't broken. I was stolen. And despite everything you took from me, you failed. I survived. I built a life. I found my way back. Rebecca's mask slipped entirely then, revealing not remorse but a flash of something like grudging respect. You have your mother's spine after all, she murmured. Judge Chen called for closing arguments. The attorneys presented their final narratives, the prosecution emphasizing the calculated nature of the crime and its devastating impact, the defense making a last plea for leniency based on Rebecca's belated honesty when the jury departed for deliberations. Most observers expected they would be sequestered overnight. Instead, they returned in just under 3 hours. Has the jury reached a verdict? Judge Chen asked. The foreman stood. We have, Your Honor. Isabella reached for Michael's hand as the clerk read the verdict. On the count of kidnapping in the first degree, we find the defendant guilty. On the count of child endangerment, guilty. On the count of conspiracy, guilty. On the count of obstruction of justice, guilty. Rebecca showed no reaction beyond a slight tightening of her jaw. Judge Chen scheduled sentencing for the following week and ordered Rebecca returned to custody. As deputies approached to escort her out, Rebecca turned toward Isabella. One last time. No words passed between them, but in that silent exchange, something concluded, a chapter closing on 16 years of secrets, lies, and stolen time. 6 months after Rebecca's sentencing, 18 years in a state penitentiary with no possibility of parole for at least 12, the Davenport estate was transformed. Gone were the formal furnishings Rebecca had preferred, replaced by comfortable pieces that invited relaxation rather than admiration. The austere white walls now displayed colorful artwork, including several of Isabella's own paintings, discovered talent that had emerged during her therapy sessions. On this bright spring morning, Isabella stood in what had once been Rebecca's meticulously maintained rose garden, now reimagined as a vibrant space with native wildflowers, herbs, and vegetables, dressed in faded jeans and a flannel shirt, dirt smudging her cheeks. She looked nothing like the society princess Rebecca had feared she would become. The tomato seedlings are taking off, she called to Michael, who was constructing a trellis nearby. We might need more stakes. He straightened, rubbing his lower back. Not bad for a guy who had a heart attack 7 months ago, right? Your cardiologist would be proud, Isabella agreed. Though maybe take a break. Ethan should be here soon. As if summoned, the security gate chimed, announcing a visitor. Moments later, Ethan's pickup truck rumbled up the driveway. The private investigator had become a regular visitor, his initial professional relationship with the Davenports evolving into genuine friendship. Perfect timing. Isabella greeted him. Dad needs a hand with this trellis. The word dad still carried a special weight when she said it, no longer awkward or forced, but not quite casual either. It remained a conscious choice, a small celebration each time. Happy to help, Ethan replied. But first, I brought something you might want to see. He pulled a manila envelope from his jacket. Final paperwork came through this morning. Inside was Isabella's officially amended birth certificate, restoring her true name and identity. Though the DNA test and court case had legally established who she was, this document represented the formal correction of Rebecca's crime, an official acknowledgement that Claire Bennett had never really existed. Congratulations. Officially Isabella Catherine Davenport, Michael said, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. Just in time for graduation, she replied, smiling at the coincidence. Next week, Isabella would complete her master's degree in psychology. She'd return to school after the trial, shifting her focus from nursing to trauma recovery with a specialization in children's therapy. Her thesis on memory reconstruction after childhood trauma had already garnered attention from leading researchers in the field. Let's celebrate, Michael suggested. I'll fire up the grill. While the men prepared lunch on the terrace, Isabella retreated to her room. Not the preserved shrine of her childhood, but a new space she'd created in what had once been the guest wing. She'd kept a few treasured items from her old room, integrated with her adult tastes and the life she'd built as Claire. On her dresser sat 2 framed photographs, one of her with Michael and Catherine when she was a toddler, the other a recent image of her and Michael at a charity gala benefiting missing children. Between them stood a small dolphin figurine, a bridge between past and present. Her phone chimed with a text from Lily, her friend from the hospital. "Still on for tomorrow, the kids are so excited to meet you." Isabella smiled as she replied. She'd begun volunteering at a center for foster children, using her unique perspective to connect with kids struggling with identity and belonging. Next semester, she'd start an internship there, putting her academic knowledge to practical use. Downstairs, the three of them enjoyed a leisurely lunch, discussing plans for the foundation Isabella and Michael had established. The Isabella Project, dedicated to supporting missing children and their families. "The website goes live next week," Isabella explained to Ethan. "We've already partnered with 3 national organizations to improve search protocols and psychological support services." "You've accomplished a lot in 6 months," Ethan observed. Isabella's expression grew reflective. "When I think about those years in foster care, how lost I felt, how abandoned, I can't help but wonder how many other children are out there feeling the same way. Some taken deliberately, others lost through circumstances. They all deserve to be found, to know who they are." Michael squeezed her hand, pride evident in his face. "Catherine would be so proud of you, using your experience to help others. That's exactly what she would have done." After lunch, Ethan excused himself to take a business call, leaving father and daughter alone on the terrace. "There's something I've been meaning to ask you," Michael said, suddenly looking nervous. "The foundation gala next month. Would you consider playing the piano? Nothing complicated? Maybe Clair de Lune?" Isabella hesitated. Though her muscle memory had returned for simple melodies, she hadn't attempted anything as complex as Debussy. "I don't know if I can," she admitted. "Your mother always said music lives in the heart, not the head," Michael said gently. "You don't have to decide now. Just think about it. Later." After Ethan had gone, Isabella found herself drawn to Catherine's music room. She sat at the piano, fingers hovering uncertainly over the keys, starting with simple scales. She allowed her hands to remember what her mind had forgotten. Gradually, hesitantly, the opening notes of Clair de Lune emerged. The piece was imperfect, with occasional wrong notes and pauses, but undeniably recognizable as she played. Tears slipped down her cheeks, not from sadness but from connection, as if Catherine's presence surrounded her. Michael appeared in the doorway, listening silently until she finished. "She's still with us," he said softly. Isabella nodded, understanding completely that night. Sleep proved elusive, restless. Isabella wandered to the kitchen for tea, surprised to find Michael already there, nursing his own cup. "Nightmares?" he asked, recognizing the signs. She shook her head. "Not exactly, just thinking about Rebecca." The mention of that name still created a palpable tension, though they had both testified at her sentencing. Neither had seen or spoken to her since she was led away to begin her prison term. "I received a letter from her attorney yesterday," Michael admitted. "She's filing for divorce." "Finally," Isabella murmured. "Yes." Michael studied his tea. "She's not contesting any financial arrangements, just wants a clean break." Isabella considered this. "Do you ever wonder if she truly regrets what she did?" "I used to, now. I think she regrets getting caught, not the crime itself." Michael sighed. "Rebecca never understood that love isn't possession. It's freedom." They moved to the living room, settling into comfortable silence as moonlight streamed through the windows. Isabella twisted the silver ring on her finger, the tangible link that had reunited them. "I've been thinking about changing my name professionally," she said suddenly. Michael looked surprised. "Back to Claire?" "No," Isabella smiled. "Never back? Forward?" "Isabella Bennett Davenport, to honor all parts of my journey." Michael nodded, understanding the significance. "I think that sounds perfect," as dawn approached. They migrated to the terrace to watch the sunrise over the Sound, a tradition they had established in the months since finding each other. As the sky shifted from indigo to lavender to gold, Isabella felt a sense of completion that had eluded her for as long as she could remember. "Dad," she said, tasting the word like a favorite food, "thank you for never giving up." Michael's eyes glistened. "I couldn't. You were always here." He tapped his heart. "Even when you were gone." The morning light caught Isabella's ring, sending prisms dancing across the terrace. MKI. Michael, Catherine, Isabella, the past. Preserved but no longer painful. 200 miles south, in the state correctional facility, Rebecca Langford sat alone in her cell, a newspaper clipping in her hands. It showed Michael and Isabella at the announcement of their new foundation, both smiling, his arm protective around her shoulders. For a moment, something like regret flickered across Rebecca's face, not for what she'd done. She had meant what she said in court about making the same choice again, but for what she had never understood about love until it was too late. She carefully folded the clipping and placed it in a small box beneath her bunk, alongside a faded photo of herself and Michael on their wedding day. Then she turned to the window, where spring sunshine illuminated the high walls surrounding the exercise yard. Some cages were visible, others invisible. Rebecca had merely traded one for another. Back at the Davenport estate, Isabella planted white roses in a special corner of the garden, dedicated to Catherine's memory. As she worked, a dolphin pendant, a gift from Michael to replace the charm Vincent Moretti had stolen, caught the sunlight. "I think Mom would have loved this spot," she said, as Michael joined her, handing her a gardening tool. "She would have loved seeing you here even more," he replied. Together, they continued planting, their hands working in tandem, around Isabella's finger. The silver ring that had brought her home gleamed in the spring light, no longer a reminder of what was lost, but a symbol of what had been found. As morning brightened into day, the shadows of the past receded, making way for new memories yet to be created. The ring had brought Isabella home, but it was love, patient, persistent, and enduring, that would keep her there,